So greetings. Thank you everyone for attending tonight's forum on electric vehicles. I'm Diane Dustraft. I've been a member of our congregation's Green Sanctuary team since it began in 2009. At the request of several members, we are holding tonight's forum to learn about the experiences of several of our first UU members with owning and driving electric vehicles, or EVs. We hope that this will serve as a resource for those who are considering purchasing an EV, whether that be next week, next month, or next year. So with that, I'm going to move on, I hope, to the first or the next slide. And we're going to start with Randy Blood and Terry Palin, who are going to talk about their Chevy Bolt.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't even know you guys had one.
Yeah, it's a good one. You want to say something? We bought it, it's a 2020, and we bought it last year in January. And it's great. I had a Nissan Leaf prior to that, 2012, and that was great, except the battery technology limited it to about 75 miles when it was new.
Mhm.
And by the time I sold it to buy the Bolt, it was down to about 60 miles. So it was great for city driving around the city. The new Nissans, not to diss anybody's Nissan, but I'm looking at you. But I needed more mileage, so I needed more. So when I bought the Leaf or the Bolt, it now gives me about 200 for the full charge, about 256 miles is the EPA 259. Make a liar out of me for 3 miles. So, you know, it's great. We have taken it, I regularly take it up to the, well, not regularly, but I do go up to the hill country just for scenery purposes, not for drinking. And it gets me there and back without any other charge. We took it last summer. We took it to Western New York, around the Buffalo area. And we, as I said in the service few Sundays ago, I think we did 13 trips going, 13 stops going of various lengths. Usually, you know, when you're driving, you stop about every couple hours. You have to. The body wants to go visit a special room, and you just want to relax. So that's a great time to charge. So we usually set it up so that we hit the level 3 chargers, which are very fast charging. You can charge level 3 in about, what is it, about every...
With the Bolt, it charges at 55 kilowatts. So it would take anywhere from, depending on how much charge we needed, from 20 minutes to 55 minutes to an hour. Yeah.
So
what percentage would that give you?
You can get about 100 miles of range in about 30 minutes.
Okay.
we usually try to charge only to about 85 miles
On a fast charger.
on a fast charger, because by the time you hit 80, the charger really slows down. So this picture is taken up in Western New York, outside a winery. Just happened to stop there.
That's great.
So so it's a fun car. It's great. We just heard today that the 2023s are being lowered in price by about $6,000 for the new Bolts coming out next year. So that's a great deal. They'll start at about 26,000, and the EUV will start at 28. Did they say about 28,000? So
That's terrific.
yeah, it's a great car, peppy. Now, some of you may know that there is a recall on the batteries. we don't bother with that. I park my car outside. So I'm not worried about that. We charge when we need to charge up to 100%. When we don't, we charge to 80%. But they are, Chevy is, the new Chevys, 22s and 23s all having the new battery, and they're slowly putting the new batteries in the ones that are already made, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So,
Do
so
the
it-
22s and, oh,
22s, no, I'm sorry, 20s, I guess.
well, I was gonna say, do the new ones come with a vineyard in the background as well?
I don't know. Well, you come with me to Hill Country and they will.
All right,
So we have quite a few photos from Dana. So if we could move on, would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay with me.
Oh, I'm sorry. And this is the home EV charging station for,
Top
Man.
one is the level 2 charger, and it shows it's 240 volts. And the bottom one, which is plugged into the plug, is the one for the, we have a plug-in hybrid, and that's on 110 volts. Those 110 come standard on EVs. That's what they give you. But if you really need to charge rapidly, you really need to invest in a level 2 charger, and they run, what about
400 or 500.
400 or 500, plus the charge of if you have to drop a line like we did, that's another 500. So something to factor in. That's it.
thank
Check.
you. Okay, Dana.
Well, one of the things I learned early on as a professional musician was how to do everything on a shoestring. So I'm like I'm extremely frugal. I have a 2015 Leaf, and it gets 84 miles at the most. Generally, that's all I need. I have been caught a couple of times. Only once I ran out of juice and just, pulled off the road. I was a quarter mile from my daughter's house. So
Oh.
they came and rescued me. But yeah, can we go on to the next?
Sure.
It doesn't have a spare tire. And that really freaked me out at first, but it does have this little pump, which I've really appreciated. I can just plug it into the cigarette lighter and fill my own tires. Okay, next. Now that's my washing machine on the right. And all I did was, at the end of my driveway, I chopped off part of a flower bed that was extending too long. I think that cord that comes from the Leaf to the outlet is 20 feet long, if I'm not wrong. And so I just cut a little hole in my fence and I pushed, there's the hole. I pushed the end of the cord through it and then put a board over it. And so, that's where it plugs in. I just pull into my driveway right up to the border of my flower bed. And this cord has a cap on it. The white thing has a cap on it. And it just sits there in all kinds of weather. And it's perfectly fine. Even in a big storm, nothing goes wrong. So this is it. I'm holding up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. There's my, no, that's good. There's my fig tree. It kind of,
I was about to say.
it's kind of crowding my car. But I really don't like to drive. So 84 miles is fine. I thought I would, take really good care of this car, and then I would trade it in on one that had more mileage. But so far, I've got little dents and scrapes on 3 out of the 4 corners. So I think I've, maybe I wouldn't get much trading it in. When I had a Honda Element And it was old. It had a whole lot of miles on it. I was spending hundreds of dollars every time I took it to the dealer to get, get serviced. And after 1 year, I took my Leaf in for service. It was $160. Last year, it was $140. I talked one of my neighbors into getting one. This is the 2019 that's closest up in the picture. And I think it gets 250 miles. And it looks sportier than mine, and it's not banged up. But it's really peppy, I like my little car. And
Mhm.
yes, I would use a charging station if there was one at the church.
Okay, thank you, Dana.
Dana, good question.
Yeah.
You have a fast charger port next to your normal charging. Is that correct?
Nope. No, I thought I did. And maybe when I first started, I told you I did, but I don't. It's just like a fake.
It's a cap.
circle in there.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't drive much. So. it's
I love
like-
my Leaf.
Thank you, Dana.
I think I'm done.
Okay, so next we're on to Russell.
Oh, that's my car. All right. Well, so one thing bad about this picture is you see that there's a pecan tree by the air conditioner. So in true UU fashion, I dug it up and gave it to somebody else. So this picture does not show the giant hole in the ground that is right there now. The Chevrolet Volt, I get about 35 miles on it because it's a plug-in. When they first made the Volt back in 2011, I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of like, that's kind of a halfway measure, 35 miles of range, that's it. But it actually makes a lot of sense. I think I probably use the engine for about 10% of my driving, and I get a lot of, so I think I get like 90% of the benefits of having a full electric vehicle. And then, when the battery runs out, the engine kicks in seamlessly. And I get about 32 miles of range. Cause I drive pretty fast to work now. Cause I'm always behind. And I don't have a 240 volt outlet at home. So it's just plugged into 120. So you can see that here. Yes, thanks, Diane. And then so it goes there. And actually, I don't have the ideal setup, but I have about 100 feet of cord between the car and the outlet, and it works just fine. I would recommend to somebody, if they did this, that they would get a 12 gauge extension cord, because that was slightly more energy efficient overall that length.
I'll
So
run
here's
I'll run your 6-second
Yeah.
video.
Go for it. See? So it's routed pretty cleanly. And then when it gets to the grass, I have a green extension cord. So a little bit of creativity there makes it work. I bought it from CarMax for about in 2017. I bought it for about $15,000, and then it was totaled, because this is actually my second one. I bought this one, it was just like the first one. And when it was totaled, I got back about $13,000 from the insurance. So it's got pretty good. It held its value pretty well. I lost $2,000 in a year. I was happy with that. But well, they don't make them new. They do lose a lot of value their first year. But you can still, I think this is an excellent budget option, because you can still get these on CarMax and Carvana. I've checked, there's still a lot. And I'll also say this about plug-in hybrids. There's a lot of concern about exotic materials being needed for electric batteries, and the human rights issues and the environmental issues that come along with extracting those. The Volt has a 10 kilowatt hour electric battery, which is much, much smaller than the electric batteries in a full battery electric vehicle. So I think that is also worth considering, is that they just, like I said, it gives me about 90% of the benefits of an electric vehicle, but it requires way less of those, of lithium and other exotic materials used to create the battery.
And then if you forget to charge, you still can use your car.
I do forget to charge sometimes. Yes, it's true. Oh yeah, and on that, okay, so also it takes, I just do level 1 charging, as you can see, and it charges up in about 10 hours. So get home from work, I plug it in, I have enough range to go to work and back, and usually one errand or translation, a Chipotle run. So, and then like I said, I hardly ever have to run the engine.
Thank you, Russell. We'll move on to, oops, this always happens, to Rob.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just looking at the questions that you put up there, Diane. So the main factor that led us to purchase this particular EV is the self-driving, because my wife hates driving, especially on highways and that kind of thing. And she thought this was the answer to her prayers. And I use it a lot now. She does not. She's scared of it. But the thing is that the self-driving feature of this is just unbelievably amazing for me. Highway driving has been there forever. And since I've gotten it in 2020, of course, you get updates all the time coming over the software. I just got another one today. It tells you need an update. It takes about a half hour, and suddenly you have whole new software. And as I've been, you know, I'm a beta tester for Tesla for their self-driving. So I get a lot more updates, I think, than normal. And so I'm noticing so many improvements from 2020 even till now. Things that I could not do before, does no problem. So that was the main reason we got it. I mean, of course, Raina does drive it and all of that, but I believe more in the software than she does, I suppose. And we got the Model Y because it is now the highest selling car for Tesla right now, Model Y. They built the Austin factory, and I know a lot of them are being built there now too. So, and the reason we got it is kind of a cross between an SUV and a car. We wanted that bigness and the big, you know, and in fact, you can put a third row of seats in it if you want to, but we didn't do that. And so, you know, as far as it goes up to 300 miles, we did invest in the level 2 in our garage. And so this is how it looks. So there's no buttons, nothing. The only thing is that screen, and everything is run off the screen. So you can, of course, configure the car in many different ways. You can have your acceleration to be chill, or you can have it to be sport, or you can have it to be whatever, you know, and there's, I mean, myriad of different options in there that you can choose for your own driving experience or whatever. So, and so the right hand little lever beside the wheel, you click, it's just poking up there. You can see at the edge. You click down on that twice, and that's what puts you into self-driving mode. And from then on, the car is driving absolutely by itself. And it now does it. I can go from downtown San Antonio, put it into self-driving mode, put in my address, it'll drive me right to my driveway, and I don't have to touch a thing. Of course, I do have to touch a thing, because it does make sure you have your hands on the wheel, because it's not, you know, it's not, probably liability reasons or whatever, but I definitely don't have my foot anywhere near the brake or the gas coming here. I just have it kind of draped over the wheel,
Hey, Rob, have you had a case where it's helped you safety-wise?
Oh, no question. I was with Steve Stickschulte. He can tell you, who's part of our church. We were driving and I had it on self-drive and he and I were talking and I had my hand straight on the wheel. Suddenly the car swerved and we were going, whoa, what happened? Like, is that a bug? Or no, a car came out from the side that we didn't see and was going to T-bone us basically, but it swerved out of the way. It's got like 8 cameras all around the car and laser as well. So it can actually see cars ahead of cars that are ahead of you, which is kind of interesting. It can bounces off the ground and it can go up under the car and it sees the cars ahead of you. And so on the screen, it has pictures of every single car that's around you and people walking. It sees everything and it has pictures of all that. So it's kind of.
Will it find a parking space when you get there, or do you have to take over?
Say that again, sorry?
Will it find a parking space, or do you have to take over when you get to a parking lot?
No, that's a good point. No, it does not find a parking space as far. Okay. No, it does not. What it does have though is something called summon. So if you're in the rain, and
yeah, that's great.
You know about that, right? So it was a pouring rain. We were at a movie theater. The car was somewhere way out in the parking lot. You hit summon on your phone. Everything's controlled on your phone. And the car pulled itself out of the parking lot and came and picked us up in the front of the theater on its own. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, little things like that. But
I mean, it's not nearly to its potential, right? They just continue to improve it and update it.
Yeah, like one thing it didn't do for a while were turnarounds, which we have a lot of in this city, you know. So I think about 9 months ago, one of the updates that came into the car, suddenly it was doing turnarounds, you know, and lots of little extra things. I love one feature is if you're first in line at a red light, you know, and you happen to be not paying attention and someone's going to honk behind you or whatever, when the light turns green, the car beeps at you, it goes beep, and okay, it lets you know it turned green. You know, when it's not in self-driving. If it was in self-driving, it would just start to drive by itself, of course. But when it's not, it lets you know that. And so I never get beeped at again anymore from behind when I'm not paying attention at a red light. So.
So shall I play the
Yeah, this is, everybody knows this. I was more for an audience that don't have electric cars. You all know what it's like. This is the same. So basically I'm just showing the taking out and putting it on our level 2 charger, which is that there. So like Russell, I had to get a line put on the outside of the garage to come in. It came from our power on the outside of the garage. And so we got a master electrician to do that. So that was $800 just to install it. And it was $500 to buy that unit. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Rob.
Rob, could you explain one thing?
Sure.
My son and daughter-in-law have the Y, and there's something about the braking system that kind of scared me when they described it to me. I thought I would be afraid to drive that. Do you know what they're talking about? Something where it starts braking automatically?
Well, I mean, when it's in self-driving mode, it certainly will brake automatically. It does everything, you know, it's as if you're driving the car. However, there are settings in the configuration, once again, and you can set it to be like very hard braking or slow braking or coming to a roll stop. And the whole reason behind all of that is certain kinds of braking regenerates the battery and others don't. And so you can choose to have kind of more of a jerky stop, but you're regenerating the battery or not, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all I can think of on that.
Right.
But it makes beautifully. I mean, when I took it, you can, any of you go to the Tesla place, go and test drive one. When we went, we were shocked. We said, we'd like to try a Tesla. And we thought we'd have to sign our life away. No, okay, go take that one, go and to go into self-driving, just click that thing twice. That was it, you know? And so it was like, what? And so we went out and we did it. We went down Highway 10 and we're barreling along at 70 miles an hour. Raina was screaming her head off, turn it off, turn it off.
Do you have to give it a destination, or will it just drive?
No, that's another thing. If you're coming, like that almost happened to me. If you're coming back from downtown, let's see, I'm going down 281. If you don't have a destination, it's going to keep going and going and going and happily doing so and driving beautifully until, you know, and so if you fall asleep, you'll end up in wherever you end up, Marshall or Marble Falls or God knows where. But if you put a destination in, then it will do that destination. Yes, it'll do all the turns, and it changes lanes on the highway by itself when it thinks it's going too slow. That's all configuration. If you say aggressive, be aggressive, then it'll take faster routes for you and stuff like that. So
how is it about tough freeway merges?
Great. Yeah, it's very it's way safer than I would be. So it's much more tentative than I would be. Like it lets other cars go more than I would, for sure. But it gets the job done for sure right now. Yeah, it sees everything, so it's very aware of what's coming. You know, much more than I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So we have a few slides from, oops, I knew this would happen. Okay, from Jeff.
Yeah, so I've been interested in EVs for years. I can't really put a date to the time that I began really, but it was way back. Like I was using aftermarket packages or whatever to put into a Prius and just like add extra batteries to it. I think the green team gave me some kind of award for that or something.
We did, yes.
I don't remember. That was a while back. I don't remember how long ago that was, but that was kind of before there was many alternatives for this. I always wanted a Tesla, but it was kind of with kids in college, it was kind of out of my budget. And so I saw that Nissan Leafs were a great deal, and it was precisely because the range on the batteries kind of falls rapidly after they're new. But I have a business as a academic tutor, and I kind of go on these little short trips kind of from house to house, and I realized my total mileage was fairly low. So I use this one as a town car. And it's great because I also write it off mileage wise for my business. So I think I bought the car for like 10K or something. So it's also a 2015,
Oh,
like Dana's.
mhm.
And it's been great for me. I bought it in Austin and had to recharge it once on the way to San Antonio, but it's been terrific for my needs, you know. So I think it seems like everybody's really covered like a lot of the kind of individual capabilities of the cars and, you know, how we use them and so forth. But I spend a lot of my time, because I'm also a Tesla investor and I've been one for years, thinking about like what the future is going to be with these cars. And I think it relates to green team interests, and what their capabilities are going to be, and, you know, what's going to happen in the economy and so forth. And one of the reasons I was really interested in EVs from the beginning was because I believe it's one of the single things that an individual can do to make the most positive difference in the future. I mean, when you think about the trouble that's been caused by the pursuit of petroleum, and you know, the negative impacts on the climate and just the world in general, there's so many negative aspects to the toxifying of the environment in many ways because of petroleum, and then all the political problems thrown in. And then when you think about, like, with the absence of petroleum in the future, how countries could generate their own power and energy, and what that could potentially do, you know, for the democratization of the world. I mean, I think we need to be driving EVs just as fast as we all can. And it's actually part of, I try to adopt some different missions for my life each year. And, you know, it sometimes it can kind of go along with my business. I try to, you know, pursue as many things that are related to one another as I can, in order to kind of maximize the efficiency of my time. So one of the things I do is every opportunity I try to sell people on EVs. And so that's been a fun and interesting, and I think and a rewarding pursuit too.
Wow, thank you, Jeff. The philosophy of EVs, that's great.
Well, I like to just throw in just a couple other things, because, you know, I follow what Tesla is doing in a lot of detail. You know, one of the things that they're working very diligently on, because they've had so much success with their self-driving, and, you know, Rob's story is a testament to that, is in 2024, the plan is to have a dedicated ride sharing vehicle that basically does not have a driver. Now, when you think about the economics of this, no pollution, you know, it's going to be an EV, so the cost to operate is going to be extremely low, and it will not have an operator. And so the potential for this, you know, to help lower income people get to their jobs and so forth, is going to be amazing. And it's going to be much more efficient, you know, than any petroleum powered bus system, or any public transportation system. I mean, maybe a subway could beat it, I don't know. But you know, especially for cities where they don't really want to spend the money on that kind of infrastructure. I mean, it would be amazing, you know, for a city to have its own system of those cars, you know, if they wanted to support it economically somehow, or give people some type of a card or something, you know, to be able to use that system at even a cheaper rate, you know. So that's on the potential. That's, you know, and the amazing thing is, a lot of people aren't aware of how close this stuff is. I mean, everyone is going to be driving an EV in the next 5 years, I think. And you're not going to be able to sell your gasoline car to anybody.
The CPS had a program, I don't know if they still have it, but they had a program where you could get free charging on any of their CPS owned charge points.
Yeah, I've belonged to that program for years. It's an incredible deal. I pay like 90, I don't even remember what it is because the price has changed over the years, but for a long time it was under $100 and I can charge it any charger.
Yeah, but the reason I stopped doing it was because it was, I don't know if it's still like this, but you had to submit actual paperwork in person. And when I moved to a house where I had a plug to plug into, it just wasn't worth doing that. I don't know if it's still like that.
Well, I think maybe I had to go down there initially, but then I didn't have to go in person after that. You know, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, but you know, what are you going to do? It's a really cost effective thing to have, you know, to be able to charge it in any of those chargers. I do it because my range is limited, and you know, if I have more clients I can service in an evening or something like that, but I have a little time and I need a charge, you know, I'll just stop at Central Market and use the charger. Basically, you know, I have a flat fee that I've paid for the whole year. It's almost like it's free. So it works great for me in my business.
There's also a program that the city has that allows you to sign up, and then you can park at any meter on the street for free.
Right.
No,
If you have an EV,
That actually was the case for hybrids, because we have a 2009 and we get the free parking.
Right, so the hybrids, plug-in hybrids and electrics can make use of that.
But you can't park everywhere, and there's so much fine text with it. Allison's got a parking ticket with that 3 times.
And you can't overextend like if it's a 2-hour parking meter, you can't park more than 2 hours there.
No, you can't.
No.
But you can't park in parking garages. It's usually downtown at the street meter.
Yeah.
I've
been doing it for years, and I have never gotten a ticket with the Prius. We've got an old tag that's just about burned out by the sun, and I still have it hanging there, and they never give me a ticket.
I just want to mention 2 things, and then I'll take I'll stop sharing the screen and we can continue the conversation. I did want to mention, this had come across my email, that there's a draft Texas electric vehicle infrastructure plan, and you can go to this link. I'll put it in the chat, and you can give your input prior to June 15th. And then just one other thing, we're going to continue we're going to have the show and tell part of tonight's program this Sunday after the worship service. And so we're going to be asking our electric vehicle drivers to park in this area off the frontage road. Here's the sanctuary, and we'll have designated parking for you. So after the worship service, you can come and see these vehicles in person and get your questions answered. So I'm going to stop.
I got to get to the car wash.
yeah, I did. I had to.
Yeah, if the church had a car wash, I'd use that for sure.
So that's a good question. Several of you did say if the church had an EV charging station, you would use it. So how many would use it?
I would, but I kind of feel guilty if there's just one and the car is there. I don't know. You know, the Tesla got around, there was an issue with the superchargers, like the level 3 places, and I've used them a little bit, and it goes up from 10 cents to, I think it's like 20 cents, you know, when you use those. But the problem is that when you go there, there may be 6 or 7 and they're all filled. So you got to wait, right? And what was happening is people are going, oh, like, you know, you can see on your phone how long it's going to take. Maybe it's going to take 20 minutes to half an hour. They go get a coffee. They maybe even go get a meal and they leave their car there and it's still hooked up and you can't use it. So what Tesla does now is that it knows exactly what's going on through the software and it starts charging them per minute. It gives them a 5-minute warning and you keep your car there per minute, like something that hurts anyway, like, you know, so that's a good way to not abuse superchargers. So
I was thinking a little bit about this, and if we were to get, say, a CPS sponsored one at the church, one benefit would be that people would stop in there as, you know, as needed. They, you know, they wouldn't be necessarily people from the congregation. And that might be a sort of a way to advertise the church a bit.
I'm not sure if CPS Energy is still sponsoring those. I think we had looked into that at one point, but I could be wrong. We can look into it again.
Would it be level 2 or 3 if something like that happened?
Would have to
I
be.
don't know if CPS has level 3s. I'm not sure.
Level
Yeah,
3
level 3 is not very
expensive.
standardized.
Green team doesn't have the budget.
Could I interject something?
Please, Dana.
Not all the electricity we're using in our cars was generated with renewable energy. So as long as we have coal-fired plants and natural gas-fired plants, we're still polluting some. I don't know if any of you have solar panels at your house, but I saved up a little nest egg and I invested in this CPS Big Sun Solar program. So they put, maybe the green team has done this too. They put panels on like carports around the city and you get a deed to that panel. If you move somewhere, that panel,
yes.
I mean, you take that benefit with you. It takes a chunk off my electric bill every month. And I'm pretty sure it's paying for all the electricity I use for my car.
Cool.
So it's, I don't know, it's just a little mental comfort there.
That's great.
That's a good program.
You're right, Dana. The green team invested twice in CPS's programs for I guess you'd call it community solar. And we actually did tour back in December, I think it was last year. One of the automotive dealers that has some of the panels over their vehicles, and supposedly some of the panels we purchased were actually there.
Diane?
Yeah, they told me where mine was. I forgot, but yeah, you can leave it to somebody in your will.
Wow.
And you don't have to do any maintenance because it's not on your house. So.
Right. Terry, what would you like to say?
I keep seeing Darcy asking questions and I don't know if she's getting answered. So I want to point that out, that there's been some questions that may not have gotten answered. So
I did get an answer to one, and I just put in something about if the church has an EV charging station, can anyone use it? Church member or
I
not?
think we would get revenue from it.
Oh yeah, you would want that.
Yes.
In fact,
Possibly with a little sign saying you don't have to be a church member to use it, in better language than that.
Well, the way I think it would work is it would just be submitted to, the network of EV chargers, so it would pop up on apps. that,
And hopefully there would be a nice sign there with our website prominently
Yeah.
displayed so that people could figure out, you
Yeah.
know, brought to you by the good folks at First UU San Antonio.
Right, right. So
Possibly with a little thing, what is it you zap with your phone? QR code.
QR code, yeah.
I had a
So this-
question.
Yes, Mary.
Oh, I was just curious, do any of you know if VIA has done any work towards moving towards either hybrid or electric in their buses? I thought I had heard something years ago about them trying to, but I didn't know if any progress was made with that.
They had one. I don't know if they still are actually using, but they used it for shows and things. I haven't seen any on the street, but I know they were thinking about it. So
I believe all of Houston Metro's buses are hybrid.
Russell, I can't, you're kind of
Oh,
breaking.
let me-
yeah, your microphone's kind of
I
muffled.
believe that, yeah, that's what I believe all of Houston Metro's buses are hybrid buses.
What the VIA was trying to do is at least get all the smaller buses that move around downtown in compact routes and the trolleys to get them to electrify first. So that's their plan. And after SA Ready to Work expires, they'll have more money to do things like that. So we're going to try to solve the generational poverty program the next 5 years, and then VIA can use the money.
Which
Good
was
plan.
passed in 2020.
I have a comment. I was reading USA Today. Today was the 38th annual Strategic Decisions Conference in New York City. And one of the keynotes was the Ford CEO, Jim Farley. And he was pointing out that they are building turnkey, high quality EVs in China for $25,000.
Right.
Materials and labor. And he thinks that's going to be the new go-to. He says that for sure Ford is going to build EVs and it'll be 100% online, non-negotiable prices, 100% remote pickup and delivery. They won't have any shops anywhere. You're going to have to, how to find a way to get your vehicle. He didn't say what they were going to cost, but by indicating that the Chinese are really perfecting a high quality EV for 25, that's going to be a pretty hard reach for a lot of other manufacturers. He says that right now, the average age of passenger vehicles on our highways is 12.2 years. That's an awful lot of old vehicles. So for what it's worth.
Interesting.
Did they say what the range was going to be on those Chinese models?
No.
They have great ranges. It's really something to be like economically to be concerned about. They have hundreds of EV companies, whereas we really have, one primary one. And that whole business model, I mean, Tesla perfected that. They started without any dealers.
Right.
And Tesla's never advertised. They've never spent a dime on advertising.
And it's all online. Everything was purchased online. Yeah, exactly.
Kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Rob, I had a question. How often do you generally get software updates for your vehicle?
It varies, but on average, once every month and a half, I'd say. Yeah, I just got one today, actually. So I'm interested to go out and see on the screen what all the updates are. They tell you this has been fixed, this has been fixed. It now recognizes crocodiles in the road. Whatever.
How about armadillos?
I don't know, but I think that one is there, yeah. But no, I just throw it's weird things like that they'll talk about. So
Deer would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Would
yeah,
it,
I think it'd do that, yeah.
it would pull around an alligator
Mhm.
or just
No,
go over it?
I-
What about a cat, Rob?
I'm not quite sure it actually said alligator, but of course, I mean, cats, dogs, all that's years ago, you know. Now it's getting to more, you know, out of the way scenarios. that you wouldn't
Exotic.
think of. Yeah, yeah. So,
You know, Mark mentioned
I-
the lifetime, the average lifetime of a car, and I mean, I think we all know that's by design. It's and it has always been. I'm wondering, you know, and there, as an alternative to making cars that could be refurbished or changed out, I'm wondering if anybody's ever heard of like manufacturers buying back cars once they're done to like the way you get a rebate when you turn in a lead acid battery after it's finished. You know, you get money because what's that?
I don't know if you ever heard of the Chevy EV1. That
Yeah.
was one of the first electric cars ever. And what happened is Chevy actually, they only leased them out and they took them all back. And then they destroyed them, which was a big issue because people loved them and they didn't understand why they did that. So Chevy did that in the 90s.
Yeah, that was a whole different thing though.
Well,
I'm not.
if you think about like the business model of the legacy automakers, they've got a big problem if they can't sell new cars. And so they've got to keep their plants busy or else they've got a real financial issue. And so what's evolved over time is that you have, you know, the cars being put out, and then even these days, they don't make a ton of money on even building the new car. They mostly make their money over time by replacing the parts. And that's how they can keep their manufacturing facility busy. And so one of the problems that we're going to be seeing is that model bumping up against the model of the EV. And I think it's going to be a lot of economic trouble for the legacy automakers, and it's going to be very difficult for them to even transition to make EVs.
But it will keep more jobs here.
Well, the thing is, I think we need a more robust EV industry. There's no reason that China has to make all the cars. And I think Tesla's proving that. And the cost of the Tesla over time is going to be coming down because they have such superior engineering, and they're pushing the engineers very hard to come up with new things. Like Elon said, worked with his engineers and basically said, well, why can toy makers like put out all these toy cars so fast? They just like come off the line in rapid fire, you know? And of course, on one level, it sounds like a dumb question or whatever, but you know, the way he operates. But then what happened was they realized, oh, we can take the frame and all these parts and we can cast it as one piece. And so now they're building the largest injection or molding machines where they like basically mold the aluminum that have ever been built. And with the Cybertruck, they're gonna mold the whole frame like in one piece. And that's gonna save hundreds of parts being assembled.
And it'll stop all the rollovers that the long trucks have.
Well, there's a lot of things they're going to do with that, like the level of the Cybertruck can raise and lower depending on if they're going off-road or not. So if for highway driving, you'd lower the frame on the wheels and it would be more stable. But then the batteries are in the base of the vehicle too. So any electric vehicle is much safer regarding rollover than any gasoline vehicle. It's much safer in an impact collision too, because the engine doesn't come back into the compartment where you're sitting. you know, like in Rob's car, he's got an open space in the front of that and the rear where he would most likely be impacted. Yeah.
I was
Sorry,
going to ask
I can
Rob,
just talk over and over forever on this stuff.
I was going to ask Rob, how much are you able to fit into your frunk?
Trunk? Well, it's got, how big would it be? It's quite a lot, actually. It's very deep because it goes right down to the bottom of the car. And it's, I don't know, that big. You can see it. You can see it
On Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to wash my car now, right?
Bring your suitcases.
Right. Yes, exactly. But I put all like tools and the battery thing, and I found stuff for it. One thing about the Tesla, if you're going to look at a bit of a con, which Raina, my wife, wasn't too enamored with, is that she found, and I guess it's kind of true, that the safety measures that you would expect in a car, just in general, such as blind spot, lane change, all that. We have a 2014 Nissan Rogue. That's our second car. And we feel it's safe. Maybe we're using it wrong, but we feel that its safety features outweigh the Teslas when the Tesla's not self-driving. Let's put it that way. Like for instance, the blind spot is not that great at all. Whereas with the Nissan, you see the blinking light right away, and someone's there, it's coming across. With the Tesla, you more have to see on the screen that there's a car coming, and you see it coming, but there's not like a lot of warning. So I would like them to beef that up, the typical safety features when you're not self-driving. Yeah.
And could I follow up? What percentage of the time that you drive the Tesla are you using the self-driving feature?
I use it pretty much all the time on the highways, for sure, because that has long been tested. It's perfection as far as I'm concerned. And then all the new stuff is off highway, like in residential streets and stuff. So I'm using that more as a beta tester. And it's working very, very well. Like, coming into my neighborhood, it was so tentative turning left at the stop sign. Now it just does it at the beach. See what it's doing. What I believe what they're doing is they're watching. It's not like the car. They don't know who's driving the car and which car it is, but they're watching all the data out there. And there's AI framework, artificial intelligence framework. So my car is learning from all kinds of other cars that are out there and what they're doing. And as the AI is learning, those features are getting put into the new software almost real time. So, it's yeah. So I and to become a beta tester, how that occurred is that I had to drive like, I shouldn't use like a grandpa or grandma, because all of us are, but I had to drive very, very carefully for like over 40 days because they were grading my driving for 40 days. I couldn't make any mistakes. And it was very unforgiving. You come up to a car too quickly, wah, 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 forward collision warning. I lost some points there, kind of thing. So it was out of 100. And if I got 99 or above, for 30 days in a row, I became a beta tester. So yeah, so a lot are trying to do that, but.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have a very specific question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
To the Nissan Leaf users, I've been interested in the Nissan Leaf for a while. My concern is that it's not water cooled. And with the Texas heat, have y'all noticed as the battery actually, or have you heard as the battery loses more and life is shortened here in Texas compared to the north or what have you?
You want to take that, Dana?
What do you think?
No, you go ahead.
I have never even thought about that. So that's what I've got to say, 0.
I mean, I knew it didn't have very long range, and I use my car really specifically for, I just mostly drive very short trips in town, and that's what I use it for. but it, depend, like I've got a 2015. So from that year, I don't remember when they got what year they got the new battery system, but from around that time, and earlier models, yeah, you have a lot of degradation in range over the years, but it mostly happens in the early part of your driving. Like you go down to about 80% and then you stay there for a long time. But
Yeah,
but the benefit is you can buy, if you know you're going to have a lot of short distance driving, you can buy a Leaf extremely cost effectively.
Well, unfortunately, they have gone up about 50% from when I was looking, a year ago or 2 years ago, just because of inflation and everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, now, I mean, you could get one for like 7,000-8,000 last year. Now they're 14,000-15,000. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, that was my concern, because I thought as a second car commuter, it would be fantastic, because 80 miles is fine for normal day. But my concern was that it's not cooled, and like the Tesla and the Hyundais and a lot of the other ones do have some kind of cooling system, and I was hearing that does affect the life of the battery. I just didn't know if y'all had heard or had concerns with that.
Well, I think the degradation comes more, like I said, if it's 2015 and older, or around that time frame, the degradation in the range comes pretty early on, and then after that, it stays pretty stable.
My car, I probably bought 4 years ago, and because it had a short range, it also didn't have very many miles on it. So when you buy a used one and it's got a small range, then it's not going to have like hundreds of thousands of miles on it. It's going to be used like the little old lady that just drove to church once a week.
And how many bars do you have on your car?
Me?
Yep. How many bars?
I never look at it.
The battery bars, you don't know?
Oh.
I don't look. I just get in and drive it.
Jeff,
I think I just have 2 missing.
2. Yeah, by the time I sold mine, we were down 4, 5 bars. And I started.
You said yours was a 2012. Is that what you said?
2012. So it was the old.
That's a pretty early model.
Right. And
I think mine might be down 1 or 2 bars, because I did glance at it the other day, but I didn't realize what it meant. But now I do.
One time I was running with Jeff up there, and while I was running, I used my phone to get into my car. It Bluetooths, and so when I get close to the car, it unlocks. My phone died when I was running, so I got to my car and I could not get into my car. And it does have a credit card key if you want, but I didn't carry that with me. I never do. I always use my phone. And so Jeff was coming. I can't remember. You had chargers and nothing was working, and we had to charge my phone. It was all the wrong ones.
Yeah, right.
Remember that? And then,
yeah, I did.
And then someone got the bright idea. He called my wife, and she got onto her phone and unlocked the car just by pushing a button on her phone. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool. Yep.
Well, I want to thank everybody for attending this evening. I'll be respectful of time. I know we started a little late, but we are at an hour. So please come on Sunday and you'll be able to see these vehicles in person and ask questions in person. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Everybody. Thanks, Diane.